California Adult Education Program, Technical Assistance Project.
Speaking of that, can you talk about how maintenance of effort was used, or what was that based on, and how that was used to create the 500, how that 500 million was dispersed?
That's a real interesting story. And I guess all those people are retired now, so I can kind of tell the truth of how it came about. So I guess, they had this amount, 500 million, but they had no way of figuring out how much everyone should get. And they came up with this idea to let the K-12 adult schools have first crack at the 500 million. And they came up with the process of trying to give the adult schools as much of that 500 million as they could justify. So somehow they picked 2012-13 as the benchmark year, and they set up a process online where the accounting or business offices would go into the website and certify how much expenditures they had in the adult ed program areas. And at first they had the 7 program areas. And when we didn't get enough money to certify, we changed it to 10 program areas, hoping to get more money. So we had a couple of iterations of the certification process. And even with that, it only got up to like 367 million or something like that, or maybe 337 million, maybe closer to 337 million, because I remember the consortium amount being about 163 million. So that kind of equals the 500. And so they tried really hard to give more money to the K-12, but the criteria they were using was, expenditures in 12-13, but that was during flexibility. So people had already had their money flexed, so you weren't going to get that many expenditures certified. So I didn't think that was a great year. They didn't want to go back to pre-flex, because then they would be certifying closer to that 700 million that we were getting pre-flex. So I don't know, I guess they had to pick a year. But the downside too is they didn't allow any expenditures that resulted from fees. So we had a couple of programs, big programs in the state, like Oakland Adult, which had millions and millions of dollars collected through fees, because they're back to flexibility, all their funds were swept. So they had to charge fees to keep the lights on and keep the program running. Same thing with Sac City in Sacramento. That adult school had to come up with a fee system in order to survive. And they collected millions of dollars in fees. But when we went to the maintenance of effort, none of that was allowed to be certified. So here you have some of these big programs, millions of dollars, got Zippo very little in the maintenance of effort process going into AB 104 and the regional consortia. So what those organizations had to do is go to the consortia and ask, for some of that consortia money, because they couldn't get any money through the maintenance of effort process. So, there was some pros and cons with that. And then, so you had the 337 million on the maintenance of effort side, and the 163 million that was left over. We worked out a formula based on need. So if you see in the AB 104 legislation, they list, I think, 5 need categories, and we used those need categories to develop the formula to disburse the regional consortium money, which is about 163 million. And that was, I think we did, along with the adult population, we did low income. We also did English not spoken at home, or English, maybe English not spoken very well. There's a American Community Survey that addresses English spoken at home, something like that. And then we did no high school diploma. And then we said reading level less than 7th grade level. And then the 6th one was household poverty. So we went to I think it was the 2010 census and the American Community Survey, and we took all the data and we put it into that regional consortia, 72 consortia districts or whatever, or regional bodies, and we were able to align the census data with those 72 bodies, and we came up with data for each of the 6 categories, and then we prorated it, so you got a certain share. We developed a formula where we dispersed that 163 million or so among the 72 consortia back then.
California Adult Education Program, Technical Assistance Project.